2012, New Haven had a total of 1,870 violent crimes, which include 17 murders, 55 rapes, 844 robberies, and 954 cases of aggravated assault. Meanwhile, the New Haven School District strives to increase the graduation rate, which has just increased from 64.3% to 70.5% that year. Within the last couple of years, this local community has been affected by a number of youth murders, which include the death of Torrance Campbell, Jacob Craggetts, Sean Reeves, and many others. What is the link between school and violence?
After a while, you start to become a little bit numb. You start to become a little bit numb. And how you process seeing something bad is just very different. You know, and you might see someone, let's say, get, punched or hit, and rather than say, oh, that's something bad, you just kind of watch and say, oh, that's something that happened. I saw something like that yesterday. And you start to, it kind of can impact your relationships with others, because that's how you may start to resort to resolving conflict as well, because it all just seems very normal.
But I've seen a lot of young kids being influenced by a lot of bad things. And I don't think it's something that they have a choice in. I think they grew up towards it.
With an environment so engulfed in violent activity, the social climate definitely affects the learning process in the school system.
You know, the influence of being cool and having fun takes away from, attention in class. And after school, you want to hang out with your friends, and you end up not doing your homework.
There were over 200 youth under the age of 18 shot in 1 year alone.
The social climate in the New Haven public school system is susceptible to violence, and many would like to know why.
That there is between maybe New Haven and the Branford is that unknown entity, and I can't speak on it, so I don't know what it is. I don't know why kids in New Haven and in our playgrounds, why it turns to be a little more violent. To, let's say, kids who grew up in Branford and in their playgrounds, you don't see that violence.
We should be a bit more realistic with students in terms of, let them know that their decisions have consequences.
A funeral will be held tomorrow for a New Haven teenager who was shot and killed last weekend in front of his home. Police say Jericho Scott was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're pleading for one of the many witnesses they think saw it to come forward. His wake was held earlier this evening, and News 8's Josh Scheinblum was there with loved ones trying to make sense of what happened. Josh?
New Haven police sent us a letter pleading for the public's assistance in helping with the case, but with few answers, those who knew the victim killed are leaning on one another for support to get through this difficult time.
I still don't believe it now that this happened.
There have been some tragedies that's happened in Connecticut, and a few places in this city, and there are communities that are still being traumatized.
It's never easy to say goodbye to a friend who's lost forever, but it's a reality hundreds of those who came out to the wake of 16-year-old Jericho Scott in Ebenezer Chapel are being forced to deal with.
Where they talked about things that affects one affects us all. Because if one group is hurting, don't think that that's not going to affect you as well later on. But you have to believe that we all have our parts to do to fix this problem.
I mean, the education itself, the system, I don't think it's being affected, but I think the kids around it, that the kids, since they feel like the neighborhood is bad and things, they're scared to, for the kids that walk to school, they're scared to walk to school because they think that, maybe something might happen to them if some kid might pop out the alley. You never know. This neighborhood sometimes, it can be a little dangerous.
Everyone's saying treat the trauma, treat the trauma, treat the trauma. But what do you say to someone who's likely going to experience that again by virtue of where they live? How do you treat that? You can treat their symptoms, but what about having an understanding that they're going to experience that again? Address that reality.
Jericho was a loving kid. He was kind. He was passionate. He was very respectful. He had a great spirit. You know, we like to call him, I call him the mirror, because no matter where you are or who you are, he's got a conversation for you. You know, and if your day is going really sour, you know, once talking to him, you'll leave that conversation like, who was that kid? But he left an impression on a lot of people, man. Because everybody who knows Jericho, from the 9-year-old pitcher that was banned from pitching till now, knows Jericho. So that stretches far beyond New Haven, Connecticut.
The way out isn't revealed to them. There isn't anyone influencing them to make positive decisions. There isn't anyone, showing them that there's a way out. You know, the leaders, there aren't any leaders pretty much in high school that are really there showing, like I said before, the reality of life, that you have to face your consequences, that you can't avoid the aftermath of your decisions. Things around us made it stressful. When I say us, I mean inner city kids. There's a lot going on.
Demographics like this, many parents are concerned about the safety of their children in school. However, efforts have been put in place to combat these rising statistics.
One of the things we in New Haven Public Schools have been really interested in and really monitoring is our suspension rates and our expulsion rates, because we know that if a child is not in school, they're more likely to get into trouble. So one of the things we do is we have a program called YouthStat, and YouthStat identifies students who are at risk for dropping out of high school and have been in trouble before, and usually they also have really poor attendance. So what we do is we talk with the school principal, and we have a team, including community providers and all kinds of services. And so we meet with that child and his parent, and we hook them up with all kinds of services. Sometimes we get them a job, an internship, some type of special program to keep them motivated to stay in school so that they're not out in the street possibly committing crime.
Talk to them, maybe they can get out of the gangs, maybe help them understand that that's not the only family they have. And all the other students could probably not try to push them away, but try to see if they can help them as well. Maybe if they feel like they have other people that can help them, maybe they'll do something different.
There are other organizations that give people a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, but they're channeled in a more positive direction. For example, sororities and fraternities. There's a hierarchy involved in there as well, but it also gives the individual a sense of belonging and purpose, but channeled in a positive direction.
The reality of life is that sooner or later you're going to have to be responsible for your own actions, and you're going to have to face the consequences of not being a good student or not being a good person in general.
I don't think you should carry all of what you did in high school into your next phase of your life. I think that, that you should be able to wipe the slate clean and give.
He kept you laughing.
I just want to say that I love him, I miss him, I'll always love and miss him. I would do anything to have him back. I just wish if there's anybody, anywhere who knows anything, please come forward and tell.
Something that, I don't understand how anybody can turn their back on it. When you're talking about children, sometimes these are children who are innocent bystanders, communities. There's a sense of humanity that I think gets lost when we stop talking about it.
New Haven has come a long way in its efforts to make schools safe, with the hopes that students realize the importance of life.